All right, welcome everybody to week 4, day 2. We're going to continue our exploration of materials today. So last time we learned how to take a texture and slap a normal map on it, which gives it that nice fake appearance that it's got some texturing, like not like a texture, but like, you know, the wall looks like it's got bumps and divots on it, kind of like it's stuccoed a little bit. And it's a little bit shiny, right? All that kind of shine and stuff like that. That's all stuff that we mess with. We created this little cool tile wall and tile floor here last time. So today we're going to continue that and talk about the notion of a master material and material instances and things like that. And if you don't know what that is, well, stay tuned. Let's do this. So, has anyone played Control? Yeah, I've played Control. It's all right. It's okay. So let's make a new material, and I'm going to put it on some of the starter content here. So I'm going to go to props, and this thing here is actually called the material preview mesh, because it's actually designed for you to like kind of show off the materials. I don't know if it does a great job on it because it's a curved surface, and a lot of times you want to see how the material looks on a flat surface, right? If you put that on there, oops. Yeah, it doesn't look good. Yeah. Created that material for us. Delete. Okay. Right, so this is my stucco material here, and you can see it really doesn't look good when you put it on the or maybe you like it, I don't know, but it kind of looks a bit horrific, honestly. So the test material mesh here is designed to kind of show off materials, but at the same time, like, it doesn't look good for some of them. So maybe you want to slap it on this thing here, and then maybe you want to just slap it on, like, I don't know, like a cube. A cube here. And we're going to make, and I'll scale it up a little bit, and slap it to the ground, and there we go. So we're going to make a new material today. And I'm going to show you some advanced material techniques with which you can use to make your own materials. Or a lot of times you don't make your own material, you sort of like steal somebody's material, and you know, like all the Unreal Engine stuff, you can just double click on. So if you come over into starter content materials and you just want to see how did they make the grass, right? You can double click on it, and it will actually show you the node graph for making grass. And there's actually a lot of stuff there. This is a lot more than what we were doing, which was just a texture, a normal map, some smoothness and roughness, maybe emissive, maybe metallic. There's actually quite a lot of stuff happening here in the grass. And they all eventually boil down to these texture sample things, but it's actually blending together different texture samples and different patterns and things like that. So you got actually different pictures of grass like that, and then you've got these weird noise looking things and different tints, and so it's actually multiplying this by yellow to make it yellowish grass. I'm going to sneeze in a second. Pause the recording right in time for that. Are there resources for creature textures? Yeah, there's lots of stuff like that. Thank you for the bless. And so you might see that there are these nodes here called multiply and lerp and clamp and things like that. And these are how you can like blend different materials together. So if you ever forget how to do like different kinds of blending and tinting and things like that, like I said, all the Unreal Engine stuff, all the starter content comes with, you just double click on it, it comes with, you know, they got like comments, and like they're kind of, I mean, that's not a great comment, but like, you know, it's kind of at least telling you what's going on here. And so micro and macro texture variation means that they make it so that when you get close and you get further away, you don't see tiling. You don't see the same image appear over and over again on the surface like you would if you just took a texture and slapped it on. So if we took the W thing there, if we, I don't know, here, text forward, and we made it, I don't know, 10, 10. Compiles and saves. I'm going to show you what tiling looks like. So tiling is when you have the same picture appear over and over again on a surface. And the human eye is very good at picking up tiling, right? You see how that just kind of like leaps out at your eye? Like, it doesn't look good. Like, this is how games looked in like the 90s before we had macro and micro texture variation. You see how there's no, you know, one picture tiling over and over again here? It's because they did that. And so if you ever want to see, like, oh, how do I do macro texture variation? Well, open up one of the starter content things. It's a great way of learning. And slap. I don't want to mess with this anymore. Basic wall. There you go. Good enough. All right. So, all right. So we are going to make a new. I'm going to delete that one that I made right there. That's the super highly tiled one. All right. This doesn't look good. I'm deleting that one. All right. So we're going to make a new material like this. Bloop. And I'm going to call this one special mat. I don't know what makes it special yet, but it's going to be special. Okay. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to use some of the more advanced parts of materials with like the multiply and the lerp and the clamp and things like that. Okay. So we're going to start off by importing a texture. You can do so by holding down T and clicking. That gives you a texture sample node, and then you can pick the texture from here. Or we snap the window side to side, which is like what I like to do when I'm working on materials anyway. If you have a texture over here in the content browser, you can actually like click on, let's see, I don't know which one I want even. What should we be doing today? I don't even know. Yeah, let's do oak. Oak's pleasant. So if you select it over here in the content browser, you can actually click on the arrow here, and it will pick the thing that's selected. Kind of cool. So yeah, this works basically everywhere in Unreal Engine. When you have things clicked on, you will see that there are like that little arrow right there, and you can click on it, and it will automatically select the thing over here. Now, it didn't select that because it's a texture, and it's looking for a material, but that's the general idea of how that works. And then Alan, somebody was muted. Okay. So, where was I? Okay. So we have imported into here a oak texture. Another way you can do it is just drag it in. That works just fine too. So what was the shortcut? The shortcut is you hold down T and click. Okay. And that imports a texture. There are such shortcuts for like almost every letter. I don't know. If you hold down L and click, you get a lerp node. I don't know. Let's try A. A is add. M is multiply. Okay. T for texture, like T time. So you hold down T and you click, and then it will. And probably because I have this texture selected, let's try this. T and click. T. No, sorry. No T's over here. Click there. T here and click, and it imports the fine. Yeah, cool. So if you have a texture selected over here, and you are over here, and you hit T, hold down T for T time. No, that's not good. T for telephone, and click, then it automatically imports it. Or you can just drag it over. Either way, it's all good. Okay. So we've got our wood here. I'm going to slap that on the base color. Metallic, default's fine. Spec and roughness is fine on default. For normal map, I'm going to bring in the oak normal, and I'm going to hook up the oak normal map. And so we have a very basic oak thing going on now. So special mat is basically just the oak material. And so if we come up here and click on this and drag you onto there, and drag you onto there, you can see it's kind of a very, yeah, you can see like the pock marks and things like that on the oak. It's not bad. It's maybe a little bit too shiny for me. Spec. I'm turning on the specular highlighting a little bit. You see how the specular highlight just kind of like became less pronounced right there. That looks pretty good actually. I'd say it's maybe a little bit too smooth. I might up the roughness a little bit. Setting that to 0.6. So watch the reflection over here as it updates. Ooh. Yeah, probably that's okay. It's like we just lost the wax coat, you know, on the oak. Yeah, it looks pretty good. I mean, it's still a little bit shiny, but overall it looks pretty good. Okay, so here we got some oak. Now, let's do some new stuff. Let's tint it. Let's say we want to make a red oak. You know how in like some video games they have the same monsters but just with different colors to indicate they're harder, right? You know, you find the green slime, you fight the blue slime, you fight the red slime. It's all the same slime, it just has different tints on it, right? So let me show you how to tint something. So I'm going to make a tint color. I'm going to hold down 3 and click, and that creates my color picker thing here. I'm going to make a nice red, maybe a dark red kind of. Let's see here. Like a darker red. I don't know. You can pick any color you want. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a multiply node, holding down M and clicking, or you can just right click and type multiply, either way. And I'm going to multiply the oak by the red. And you might say, my math teacher never taught me you can multiply a color and a color together and you'd be right. But look, what do you think? Yeah? Right? Kind of cool, right? Yeah. That's not math the Jedi would teach you. So, yeah. With just that much effort, I was able to make a brand new wood, right? Now, you know, and then of course you can sit there and play forever with the different colors, you know. Make it a hot pink oak. Seems like an abomination. Actually, it's not too bad. I mean, it's horrible, but it's not as bad as I thought it would be. Because the brown itself is already fairly reddish green. I don't know if you know that. But like, brown is actually a red-green color. So, yeah, that's not too bad. Okay. So, that is mahogany. Okay. Kind of like a cherry oak. I don't know. So, now, okay, so that's multiplying. So you can multiply any color by any other color, and it'll kind of work the way probably you think, except when it doesn't. But just try it, right? And you should be pleasantly surprised. Now, we can add colors as well. And so multiplying typically makes things darker, right? Because all colors range from 0 to 1. So if you were to multiply like 0.5 times 0.5, you get 0.25. Multiplying things tends to make things darker. Unless you multiply by white, in which case you've done absolutely nothing, so why do it? So there's also a node called add. And so add makes things brighter. And so we are going to add a little bit of Monica in my life to the thing here. So I'm going to add I'm going to add some color. So I'm going to add bright pink to this. And this is hopefully going to look horrible. It's probably actually going to overwhelm the oak. Is my guess. Yeah, it's too much. Okay. Make it a lot darker. Megan, are you a Mambo number 5 fan? So there, we have added pink to the mahogany, and there you go. So multiplying things will tint it, and then adding things will just add on top of it. And you have to be a little bit careful with these things. Like you can see, this is actually quite dark as far as the purple goes, and it's still you know, creating this rather garish shade of bright pink. But you can still see the reddish brown coming through. So if we make this really, really dark, then it'll be a little bit more subtle, I think. Still not very subtle. Yeah, see. Nice. So there you go. So we can add a color to a color. We can multiply a color times a color. Also, another thing we can do is we can add noise. Okay. So we can also blend two different. We can also blend two different textures together, which is kind of fun. So let me disconnect. Let me screenshot this for you, and so you can kind of like mess with it later. And there we go. It's gonna have my chin, I think, in the chat channel. Let me show you how to blend two different materials together as well. So I'm gonna just move this up out of the way. You get me up here. I might come back to you later, but for now, I'm just gonna do texture sample number 1, and I'm gonna pick I'll pick oak again. We seem to be having some fun with that. And then texture sample number 2, and we'll pick something, maybe pine, maybe. We're gonna have a little bit of oak, a little bit of pine, and then we're gonna blend these together. Now I could multiply them. I don't think that's gonna look very good, but let's try that. I'm gonna show you a better way in a second. So let's try that. The oak pine look. You're not doing pink, that's fine. Yeah, actually, that turned out surprisingly well. Actually, that actually looks a lot better than I thought it would. Oh, well, let me show you a different way that you can blend things. And so multiplies them together, adding adds them together, but lerping lerps them together. And if that was a non-explanation, you object, you didn't tell us anything, you just repeated the name again, you're absolutely right. So what does it mean to lerp? So lerping is when a bunch of kind of nerds go into a field, they dress up like wizards and fighters, and they throw Nerf darts at each other, yelling magic missile, magic missile. That's lerping. Actually, lerping stands for linear interpolation. And so what it seems a little specific. If you've never lerped, you've never experienced life. Okay. So yeah, LARPing. So by default, lerp will just average them together. Okay. So rather than multiplying them together, which again tends to darken, lerping by default does a 50-50 blend. And so now you can see we've got pine over here, and then this is like a pine oak 50-50 blend of pine and oak, which by itself, not too bad. Again, not actually as bad as like you might think. Okay. If you've never lerped, you've never experienced life. Kearney 2020. Yeah. A student of mine once made a campaign stickers for I've never run for political office, but they were kind of as a joke. And so my motto was apparently make Fresno great for the first time. I want wood made out of stone. Probably do that. But let me show you something cool. So this alpha thing here, if we turn it into a constant, if we set it to 0, you see it becomes oak. If we set it to 1, it becomes pine. If we set it to 50-50, it becomes pine oak. And so the value of alpha here is what percentage comes from oak and what percentage comes from pine. Okay? So you can see if I set it to 0.1, it's mostly oak. 0.2, it's starting to get more pine in there. 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, and 1, and then it's fully pine. Okay, so you can actually literally choose the blending value between oak and pine. Do you guys understand how lerping works now? So lerping, you have oak At 0, you have pine. At 1, and then it's like a slider between the two, and you pick how much one and how much of the other one do you get. How do you shortcut access lerp? L. Hold down L and click, and you get lerp. You guys understand conceptually what's going on here? So it's like a blend factor. Okay. Now, let me show you something even cooler. This, like all of these things, it does not have to be a single value. You can actually pass a 2-dimensional picture to alpha, and each individual pixel will be used for the alpha value for that pixel. So you can select some of the area to be oak, and some of the area to be pine, and some of it blended between the two, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to do another texture sample, and I'm kind of running out of room here, aren't I? Let's move the normal map out of the way. I'm going to do another texture sample here. And I'm going to pick as my texture sample a checkerboard pattern, like that. And the green channel, because it's either green or black, I could do RGB, it's basically the same, but I'm going to pick the green channel and feed that into alpha there. And if I save that, some of the areas are going to be oak, some of the areas are going to be pine. What do you think, huh? Pretty cool, right? You see what's going on there? So rather than one blending factor for the entire thing, each pixel, the top left corner is black. What is black? 0. So it picks oak. And then all these are 0, so all these are oak. And then when we get over here, the value is 1. And so it picks pine. And so you can create a checkerboard very easily. Right? So you want to make you just increase the tiling factor, like a little text chord over here. Text chord over here. And we'll set the tiling to like 8. Let's feed that in there. Feed that in there. And probably to the normal map too, so the divots and pits are more. And we got a checkerboard. Actually, it's too many because it comes with 4. So make it 4, 4. Right? Kind of cool. Kind of neat, right? And so you have some areas that are oak, some areas that are pine. The normal map is now much denser. Now, probably I should be doing the same thing for, because the pine has its own normal map and the oak has its own normal map. And so if I want the normal map to match the grain of the wood, which honestly I can't see, but if you wanted to, you can do the same thing. I'll just show you so you know how to do it. I don't think it matters in this case, but like sometimes the normal maps are quite different, right? Like if you have rock, you don't want to have a rock normal map on grass. It looks just bizarre, right? And so you want the areas that are rock to have a rock normal, and the areas that are grass to have a grass normal. So we'll feed in the texture coordinate over here. And we're going to pick the pine normal map here. And we are going to lerp between the two of them. And we're going to use the same checkerboard pattern here. And so now the output of this lerp is going to go into the normal map. Save. And then you're probably not going to see any difference, especially because I've turned the roughness up. So with roughness up, it's really hard to tell like individual grooves because they're not very shiny. I honestly can't see any difference, but now it's using the normal map of pine for pine. It's using the normal map of oak for oak. Is that the kind of thing that I'd bother with in real life? Probably not. But like I said, if we were doing this with like grass and rock, yeah, it looks really weird for your grass to have like ridges and like scale, like sheets, and like it's quite bizarre. So and likewise, it's weird for like rocks to have leaves, stuff like that on it. So okay, so that is pretty cool. I think. I don't know. You tell me. Do you guys think it's cool? I honestly think it's pretty cool. Screenshot that. Your idea includes a chessboard that makes life easier. Cool. Just save that on there. So tell me, like, do you guys like that? It's kind of neat. Yeah. And what if we replace the chessboard with something else, right? It doesn't have to be black and white. Let's see if I can find another. Purlin noise is what is good. So purlin noise is a random pattern of white and black. And so what's going to happen is the areas that are black on this texture here are going to be oak. Let me turn off the. Let me turn down the texture coordinates. Actually, let's set that back to 1, so it won't be quite so modelly. And so the areas that are black on the noise, it's going to lerp to be oak, and the areas that are white in the noise are going to choose pine, and then the areas that are in between are going to blend between them. So that's I don't know, honestly kind of weird looking to me. But you know, I think you can see how this would be useful for like rust or smoke or damage on a surface. Is there a way to add a different texture to a specific part of an object? So when you're modeling, you can have different sections of, like, you see how like the face of it here is still default white. That's because they have different elements in the ball. Yeah, so there's different elements within this mesh, and so you can choose to apply different materials to different parts of the mesh. If you don't have that, then then you could probably use lerping and using this to mask out different areas for different things. It seems like real pain to me. It's better to do that at the modeling level. So, all right. So we've done addition, we've done multiplication, we've done lerp. Let's talk about material parameters now. Okay. And let's say that I want to have like a surface that can like get dirtier over time. Okay. Or maybe because every time I hit save, right, it has to recompile the shaders, and I can't change this in real time in the game, right? And I have one material and it's the same on every single surface the material's on, right? If I put the material on here, it's the exact same material as that one and that one. Okay, so so let's say I want to make my material able to look different on different objects. A common thing that people do is they will have the texture coordinates be so you can just, like, remember last time I put out that long thing and the tiling was all screwed up on it. So let's see here. If I want to start with this, because these things, yeah. Let me start with an easier example first. Okay, so let's say that I just want to have like an oak texture, and I want to add like, I don't know, like maybe just like dirt to it. So I'm going to delete this texture sample here, and I'm going to delete the texture sample here, and I'm going to delete the lerp, and I'm just going to use my oak lerp, and X coordinate, it's back down to 1. Okay, so I'm actually just going to use a color, and I'm going to pick like a really dark kind of brown color. So I'm going to go with like 0.4, 0.20, darken it quite a lot. Okay. Feed that in here. That. So you see how it looks like there's kind of like dirt on the on the oak now. It's a little bit subtle, but it should, you should see that, right? There's like, so what I could do is make the amount of dirt on it like sort of editable. Okay. So I want to make it so that the amount of dirt can change over time, or you can have different dirt on different substances and things like that. So let's see here. I'm actually going to switch A and B. Reasons that will become clear here. So I switch which one is A, which one is B, and you'll see that flip, but yeah, it's basically the same thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a parameter. And I'm going to create a scalar parameter. There you are. I'm going to call this dirt level. Okay? And so dirt level is going to be a value that can change in real time. So as the simulation is running, line you up, line to the left, thank you very much. All of you guys. Line left, thank you. Pull out a little bit. Okay. So the dirt level is something that can be adjusted. So even if you have multiple objects with this material, you can have some of them be clean and some of them be dirty. Okay. Or you can make it so that as an object, gets hit by a sandstorm, it progressively becomes dirtier over time. Okay. And so what I'm going to do is the dirt level is going to multiply by the purlin noise. So if the dirt level is, did I do this backwards? If the dirt level is 0, it's going to all be the dirt. Yeah, I did it backwards. Okay, sorry. I had it right the first time. Switch this back. Okay. So the purlin noise, so if the dirt level is 1, no, let's see. It would have to be, I mean, if we made it 2. Yeah, okay, let's try this. Okay. So if the dirt level is 0, then it's just going to be the oak. Okay. So you see this? If we hit save, so dirt level right now is 0. Default value is 0 right here. And so it's going to take the purlin noise, multiply all that stuff by 0, which gives you 0 because anything times 0 is 0, right? And so the lerp is going to pick A because when alpha is 0, it picks the oak. When alpha is 1, it picks the dirt. And so if I had a better texture sample for dirt, I'd use that. Right now I'm just using this kind of brown color. And so you notice all the dirt's gone, right? Because the dirt level is currently 0. Now, if I set the default value to like 0.5, then save, you'll notice that, oh no, default value of 1. It should go back. Yeah, you see how it goes back the way it was before? And you notice how he didn't have to recompile it. You see that? Yeah. He doesn't have to recompile every time. Because it compiles it once with a parameter, and then that parameter can change in real time. So 0, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4. Even better, we can have a slider. So the default value is going to be 1, and the slider will range from like 0 to, I don't know, like 10, something like that. 10 is going to be really weird. This probably should be clamped also. Clamp it. Some room. So I'm going to give them the clamp. Okay. So what clamping does is it prohibits the value from going above 1. Right. So it'll make the thing look a little less stupid at higher dirt values. So if I set the dirt level to 20 now, it just turns brown. Before, it was exploding out past human comprehension. So now just pure dirt like that. And dirt level of 2, dirt level of 3, dirt level of 0.5, dirt level of 1.5. Right? Kind of cool. And so, yeah, so we got that. And I'm, again, going to default it to 1. And then actually, let's see what that 5 is already pretty dirty. 100. Yeah, there's some areas where the original is shining through, but probably about 5, 6, maybe. Yeah, 10's fine. Set up to 5. Nice. Okay. And so you might be like, what does slider min and slider max mean? You'll see in a second. Okay. So we've got this. So the dirt value, if it's 0, it's going to multiply 0 times the purlin noise and get black, so it's all oak. If you multiply it by like 2, all the pixels in here get multiplied by 2 and they head towards white. And because we put a clamp in there, they can't go beyond white. So they just stay at white. There's still going to be some areas that are black. 0 times 2 is still black. So that's why even when you set the default value up to like 5, you'd still see there's a couple areas here where the oak is still shining through. In general, though, probably 2 is going to be pretty darn dirty. So let's see what we mean by this slider value. So I'm going to save this, and here's the cool thing: when you've got your materials set up with parameters, a lot of times you actually don't mess with the materials again. And so even things like the texture sample here, that can actually be a parameter instead of a texture, which means the picture itself could change in real time. So as the game's playing, it could actually switch from oak to gold. You're playing as King Midas, and you touch the sentry gun, and it turns to gold. That's doable. And so rather than a texture sample, we could use a texture parameter, which is texture parameter. Yeah, thank you. Texture sample parameter, 2D texture object parameter, texture sample parameter. You are going to be oak. Let me hit save, and you'll notice nothing changed. But this thing is now a parameter. And so in real time, we can actually switch out what kind of wood it is, or we can turn it to gold, or make it turn black when you touch it, or something like that. Okay. So I'm going to now dock special mat, maximize this, and this is the most important step. So get ready. Okay. So we've got our material set. We've got different parameters. You saw how I can kind of adjust those parameters in real time, and it instantly changes what you see on the screen. Watch this. Right click and choose create material instance. And so a material instance means a version of that material with the parameters set differently. And so you can have a version of special mat that's clean of dirt, one of them that's like medium dirt, one of them that's like heavy dirt, and then you can use the same material in 3 different places and it'll look different. So I'm going to create a material instance, and I'm going to call this clean special mat, and save. And then I'm going to right click and create another one. I'm going to call this one medium special mat, and save that one. And I'm going to right click and choose create material instance, dirty special mat. And I'm going to put the clean one on the cube, and the medium one on you, and the dirty one on you. And you might be saying, well, wait, this is all the same, right? It's because I haven't done anything yet. Okay, so, and we'll save you as well. So, watch this. Come on, save all. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to go to clean special mat. Watch this. I'm going to double click it. And you can see it's got a preview node here. And then remember how I told you there was a slider? So if you want to change the dirt level, you check that box there. And then you can drag this up and down, and you can instantly see in real time how much dirt it's going to have and what it looks like. And what's even really much cooler is if we snap this over here and snap this over here. As you adjust the dirt level, you can actually see the object in real time getting dirtier and cleaner, huh? Kind of cool. So you can adjust the dirt level specifically to match the needs of that one object. So I'm going to set this dirt level to like 0.1. So very small amount of dirt in there. Maybe 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.9, too much dirt now, 0.2. Yeah, a little bit of dirt, not too clean. Yeah, that's not even noticeable. Okay, and then we hit save. And if we wanted, we could change the texture that is under it. So we can change it from oak to pine. And so even though this is the same material as this one, they look completely different. Okay, both of these are the exact same material, but I made the texture a parameter, so the texture can change per instance. Each instance can have a different picture of a wood. And in this case, it's pine instead of oak. The normal map is still going to be from oak, but who cares? You can't really see anyway. And the dirt level is a parameter. The texture picture is a parameter. So these can be edited and changed and made to look very, very different. I'm actually going to just put you back on oak. And I'm going to save. I'm going to try to save. Controls. Yes, no? Okay. All right. And then I'm going to go to medium special matte. And medium special matte. The dirt level all set to be, that's too dirty. Maybe 0.9, something like that. And I'll leave it on oak as well. Save, close out. So is that the best way to do things? Like make a whole variety of actors capable of getting dirty. They have different textures that get dirty in the same way. The recommended practice, Megan, is to actually have like one material. Like really. Like you just have one material that does everything, and then really, yeah, and then you can use that for everything, because every material you have in your world has to compile as a shader. And we've all played video games where like you launch a video game and it's like compiling shaders. You're just sitting there for like 5 minutes. It's like compiling shaders. If you only have one material, you compile one shader, and then the parameters change at runtime, and that's fine. So. It's called a master material, and I've got master materials. Oh, yay, search doesn't work. Why would it? Well done, Epic. You don't have enough money to pay for search. Okay. Escape Pro, material function collection, music castle, and system. Goodness. Somewhere in here I've got various master materials. Super. Let's see if I can search for it on the marketplace. Let's see if search there works. Master control material. Master materials. Yeah. So mega pack. Let's take a look at this one or something. And so basically these things are all the same underlying, material, right? And so that has an opacity. Oh, that's pretty cool looking. So it's got an opacity mask so that some of the part of it is transparent. It's pretty cool. These are all the different parameters you can see over here that you can set on it. And so basically you just use the same material on everything, and you can make the metallic a parameter, you can make the roughness a parameter. You make the basically everything a parameter. The tiling, that kind of stuff. Tiling's a little bit weird to get working as a parameter. So, okay, so, and then we're gonna do special matte, medium matte, clean. Where's dirty? There's dirty. Okay. So dirty, you're going to come over here and snap to the right. And then for dirty, we're going to override the dirt level. And so dirty is, I guess, the house right now. And so you're going to get extra. And so because I set the, do you remember how I set the minimum and maximum? So that's, if you drag the mouse, that kind of controls where it stops, right? So it stops up at 5, pure dirt, basically. And so you can just sit there and kind of like drag it around, and be like, that looks about right to me, you know? And that's very useful because instead of having to recompile it and try 0.8, recompile and try like 0.81, and recompile it and try 0.82, you just sit there and drag it around, and be like, okay, there you go. That looks about right. And then we're going to make this a pine building again. And there you go. So you got a pine building that's got a little bit of dirt on it. Yeah, it's a little too much dirt. It's too dirty. Back in 0.8. Yeah, that's on the pine. It doesn't look that great. I'm actually going to lighten it up a little bit. That looks better. Okay, save, close, done. Okay, so the material on the house, on this, and this are the same material. You can see this one's clean, this one's got a fair bit of dirt on it, and this one is a completely different texture, and it's got a different amount of dirt on it as well. And there you go. And so if you want, you can come back into your special mat, and all these things can be made parameters if you like. So the spec, you can drag that out and choose a scalar parameter on you. And this scalar parameter I'm going to call specular. One thing to watch out for, and this is something that has burned a lot of students. So specular, I'm going to default to 0.4, and the minimum is 0, the maximum is 1. Now you can actually edit the value so that it's like bigger than that, right? But in general, this is just like when you're dragging the mouse around, right? Where the end and the end are for dragging. So for spec, it's defaulted 0.4. So one thing that burns students, it's going to recompile, okay, is like, okay, now I'm going to turn roughness into a parameter, okay? And by the way, here's a nice shortcut: right-click, promote to parameter. It even types in the name for you. And it's 0 to 1, and the roughness is currently 0, so it looks quite funny. I'll set the roughness back to 0.6. There you go. Is students will duplicate a parameter. And you're probably used to copying and pasting working, right? You hit copy, you hit paste. I'm not even going to do it because it actually breaks Unreal Engine's brain. If you ever have two parameters with the same name, Unreal Engine gets very confused. So never copy and paste a parameter because it doesn't know which one is which. And even if you change the name of the parameter later, it still oftentimes thinks it's the first parameter. And everything like breaks. And it's unpredictable which one it'll pick to work. So just don't do it. Okay? Rather than me copying and pasting specular and renaming it to roughness, don't do that. Don't copy and paste any parameters. Trust me on this. I right-clicked on roughness and promoted it to a parameter, or I would just create a new parameter and do that. Okay. Okay. So because that texture sample is reasonably uniform, it's making the whole thing dirty, right? Like if that was say white on top and black on the bottom, it could potentially only get dirty on the bottom. That is correct. Yeah, and in fact, if you wanted to, watch if I switch out this with the checkerboard pattern, then the noise is only going to apply in a checkerboard pattern. Okay. And so purlin noise is, and you can see the dirt here, right? Heavier dirt, lighter dirt, right? So purlin noise is really useful, and one of the things I actually have purchased in the past is a noise pack that just has different kinds of noise in it, so you get different patterns of noise that you can use to randomly, because what it's essentially doing is randomly adding dirt in different blotches and patches, but it's sort of irregular, so like the edges don't show up and the tiling doesn't show up to the human eye. Like layer masking, yeah. So, so you could, so if you did like a checkerboard pattern, you could just have the area that is black in the checkerboard pattern do something. And you can mask out that area and just have that area, you know, get dirty or something like that. So you can make an image that's just white on the top and black on the bottom, and then feed that in and only have dirt like in the lower part of the house or something like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All sorts of tricks you can do like that. And it's honestly a lot of fun to play with. Okay, so the normal map here could be a texture parameter. So texture parameter here, and this is going to be called the normal map. All right. See texture parameter here. And you are going to default to the oak normal. Like that. So we're back to where we were before, but now if we switch out the texture with something like rock or something like that, we could have a rock normal on it rather than a oak normal on it. Let's see here. Emissive color, we could turn it into a parameter. Yeah, sure. Why not? You promote to parameter. And we're going to default to 0, so it's not emitting any light at all, but why not? Save that. Metallic, we could make it a parameter. Why not? Promote to parameter. Metallic, just leave metallic right there. Occlusion, sure, why not? Promote to parameter. Ooh, that defaults to 0. Let's not do that. But yeah, let's see. We'll do a texture parameter. And this one we're going to call ambient occlusion. Remember, that's like for adding shadows to the corners of rooms and things like that. And we are going to have it default to dead cells. Really, we want to default it to black. I don't even know if I have a black on here. I actually just have a black texture. It's kind of what I wanted to be. Gradient. I don't know what that's going to do. Might look funny. No obvious changes. Okay. So now if we come back into like a dirty mat, okay, you'll see now over here, there are more options for us to change the material. So we can turn metallic on. Yay! Check it out. We now have a metal house. You see that? Snap that over here. Snap you over here. You see this? So if I set metal to 0, it's not metal. If I set it to 1, it's instantly metal. 0.5 metal doesn't really exist in the real world. It's something called a quasi-metal, which is like half plastic, half metal. It's not really physically accurate. It's sometimes used for like alien surfaces and things like that to make them look a little bit unreal, pun intended. But in general, yeah, metallic is going to just be 0 or 1. And so you can make it not metal or metal. And, you know, just your choice. You know, if you want a metal building with a pine texture on it, you can do so. Yep. 1.0 metal. Yeah, 1 metal is metal and 0 is non-metal. Wood's not metal, it's plastic. We could then mess with the, let's turn that off. Roughness. So you can set the roughness to 0 and Yeah, you see how it's like reflecting the WWF over there. See how shiny it is now. Roughness is 0, and as I drag it up and drag it down, you can see it kind of reflecting differently, right? And so whenever you're messing with this kind of stuff, like you just basically can just go into the world like I am and just be like, what if we mess with this a little bit, and just get it to a point where it like kind of matches your artistic vision. You know, it's kind of fun. You can see the normal map more pronounced here now. And I can override the normal map. So if I overwrite the normal map with, like, let's say, rock is called Rocky. Yeah. So now it's a Rocky normal. That looks bad. That looks so bad. It's like a shiny rock wood that is just a garbage material right now. I hate it. I love it. Let's see. Concrete tiles. There you go. So now with the concrete tiles normal on it, it looks like somebody's built like, you know, wooden tiles, like for floors and things like that. It's quite reasonable. That's actually that's not terrible. It's probably a little bit too shiny, even if you're doing like laminate flooring or something like that. It's like that's like way too shiny. You know what I mean? Like probably want a little bit rougher. So, yeah, and so basically, yeah. So basically, you just swap out the normal map and make it look different. You know, ambient occlusion. Yeah, you can see it's messing with the shadows here. I don't really like this. Actually, I prefer it to not have anything. For ambient occlusion. Spec highlight. Again, you can drag this up and down. So if we drag it around, you can kind of adjust the values until it gets to a place that you like it. Right, so that little shiny thing right there is the specular highlight. And that looks a little bit fake to me. Still not a big fan of that. It still looks like a shiny floorboard, which maybe is what you're looking for. Not exactly what I think like a house should look like. You know what I mean? It's a really good cave texture. Yeah, I mean it's not terrible actually, but I wouldn't use the wood on it. You know what I mean? So, so yeah, I can like kind of just mess around with this, get it to a place that I like it, hit save, and then you notice like none of the changes I made to this were changed over here, right? Because those are different instances of the material. So I made one master material, and then the clean special mat, none of its things were changed, right? So each one of these you can adjust the all the different parameters separately from each other. And so, like I said, traditionally, like or not traditionally, but like very commonly, people will just have everything be a parameter, and then everything's done in the material instance instead of here. So this is a good place to like start messing around with stuff, but then like in reality, a lot of people just use master materials and just go from there. All right. Projection of the texture is different. Yeah, it's projected onto the surface like this by default. So each surface kind of gets, you see how that's all stretched out. Right? If you wanted to change the parameters, the material parameters, the tiling parameters, sorry. Like I said, it's kind of annoying because special mat. Because these aren't parameters, right? Like These things aren't parameters, they're fixed. And so what you need to do is like multiply it. So let's see, checkerboard is 1, 1. And so you need to create a vector parameter. This. That's too much. I want it 2. Yeah. Okay, we can do this scalar parameter. And so we're going to call this Bad Oscar X, or U tiling. And we're going to, I'm not going to copy and paste it. I'm going to make another one. Scalar parameter. I'm going to call this one V tiling. And then, let's see, what am I going to do with this? Alignment, line left. And then I'm going to make a 2D data structure, and I'm going to multiply these things together. I think that'll work. Okay. Right now, their values are 0, so we have 0 for tiling, which explodes the universe. Let's set you to 1, and the slider men should be like 0.1, the max should be 10 maybe. V tiling, we're going to default to 1, 0.1, and 10. Again, you can exceed those values if you want, but what's cool about this is that now that we've got what is this shrug for? So it's like I said, it's a little bit weird, but basically, Raymond's comments, literal material shift. I don't know. So yeah, basically what we're doing here is the texture coordinate's always going to be 1, 1. But like, what would happen if we don't? We just did this. Would that work? Maybe we don't need texture coordinates at all. No, it doesn't work. All right. Yeah. All right. So, yeah. So we're multiplying the texture coordinates of 1, 1 times these parameters, and then this will allow us to adjust how many times the texture repeats itself horizontally and vertically. So if I come back out here, I can make a new cube and pull it up, and I can scale it out, like that. Great. And then I can slap, I'm going to make a new special mat, and I'm going to call this one hot dog mat, because it's a giant hot dog. I don't know. Save, put it on there, and you can see by default it stretches out like pretty badly, right? Like the top left corner of the texture is here, the bottom right is here, and the whole thing just stretches over the whole thing. It looks kind of garbage, right? So what I could do is, now that I've got my material instance, what I did, if you forget, I right-clicked on Special Mat and chose Create Material Instance, and I'm creating one specifically just for this long hot dog-looking thing here, which is why I call it a hot dog mat. Double-click on it, and snap it off, snap it to the right, snap it over. Normally when I do this, I have 2 different windows, right? So, you know, this would be over on like a different screen, and then it's not all like weird and, you know, kind of tiny. So I've got this here. Then over here you can see U tiling and vertical tiling. And so, let's see, 1 and 10 maybe? No. 1. How big are you? That's a good question. You are 20 point, let's just make it a flat, 20 meters long. Okay, so the hot dog here is 20 meters long, 1 and 1. So over here on my material, I'm just going to set the tiling to be 20. And now you can see that the thing is the right size. Right? I mean, it's repeating over and over again, but yeah. Okay. And if you repeat it too often, you'll see tiling, right? Like you see how the eye picks up those patterns here. So you have to be careful with that. And there's something called micro and macro texture variation you can use to blend together different. You can use purlin noise and related textures to add different textures from one to the other. And then you do that at different frequencies that aren't multiples of each other. And then what will happen is the sine waves kind of all constructively add together, like the waves in an ocean. They'll repeat because they're all sine waves, and they blend in different and interesting ways between a high frequency, a medium frequency, and a low frequency texture. And that's how, like, you get the thing like the grass here that doesn't have any visible, artifacts on it, right? This guy here, you can see the repeating texture, from a distance. But like when you're up close, at least everything's the right size. Okay. And so what you can do is basically, you see how now I didn't have to like stretch out the material on this guy, and like I can actually have the same material on both of these objects at the same time. And what I did was I just looked up the size of this one, I just punched it in here, and then it scaled appropriately. Right. So if I were to scale this guy down, yoink, like this, you can see it's tiled all the hell now, right? So its size now is 3 meters. So I'd come back into Hot Dog Mat and said it's U tiling 3. Save. And it looks just fine. And I can do that without breaking this one and this one. That's why material instances are so powerful. You can, like if you need to adjust the scaling on one, it doesn't break the scaling on another one. 13-inch screen, yeah, it's not good. Yeah, game development really requires 2 monitors, and 3 monitors is, I've become a little bit spoiled. Mostly it's because I've got my recording station over here, so I can make sure that I'm recording, the lectures properly, and I've got chat here. But like when doing development, I normally have windows up just everywhere, If half a monitor, yeah, it's not great. It's hard. You're watching the stream on a MacBook and Unreal Engine on another laptop. Yeah. Yeah, I've got a spare 4K monitors around here somewhere. I thought about getting a 4th monitor and just like having it up on the wall, just like getting like a 48-inch TV, just like VESA mounting it on the wall up here. Then I have like YouTube and like news and stuff like that going, and just having like the full like, hacker, like you see in movies where they have like 17 monitors around them and stuff like that. Dual monitor and use the TV as a 3rd, yeah. Yeah, I used to have a TV hooked up here, and like when my kid was young, I had a separate desk for her like homework and stuff like that, and I had the TV on that, so I just like throw Mickey Mouse on it or whatever, and just when she was done with homework, I'm like, here, watch this, and just drag it over onto her table over there. It's kind of fun. Okay, so that is materials. That is advanced materials, lerping, adding, multiplying. Panning. We could do panning. We got a little bit of time left in class. Let's do panning. So, okay. Panning means the texture can move. All right, and this is typically used for like water and stuff like that, where you'll have usually like 3 different textures and they're blended together using lerps and multiplies and things like that. And you'll have one sliding this way and one sliding this way and one sliding this way. And they sort of constructively interfere to make the water look nice. But let me show you what it'll look like with the WWF. test material, and we're going to call you WWE, whatever. It's pandas beat up the WWF. WWE mat, and we're going to open this up. And for the UV here, I'm actually going to hook that up not to a texture coordinate, but to a panner node. Okay. And so the panner is going to coordinate time, game time, speed. We'll start with that. Okay. Save. You hook up your monitor with HDMI? Yeah. Yeah, my graphics card I think is 3 display ports and 1 HDMI, and using almost all of them right now. I got room for 1 more monitor hooked up. It might make Windows cry if you have 4 different 4K monitors hooked up to one machine. So, yeah, there you go. So you can have the textures sliding on it. Right now it's sliding in the X direction. We can have it slide in the Y direction as well. And that, save. Or you do both and have it go diagonally. So you got this. Actually, that's clearly the wrong direction. They need to be heading downwards with their bodies down there. So there you go. Yeah. And so everywhere you put that texture, that one's upside down. Everywhere you put that texture, it will be sliding like that. Notice how the normal map's not sliding, right? Which kind of gives it kind of a cool look, right? You see how the normals are not moving? It looks like there's an image inside of the box. And so you can do things like power-ups with this kind of thing. Or if you have a very slight texture variation, you can make the thing kind of ripple and shimmer using a panner node. Banners could do that. A lot of times banners are using like cloth simulations, which are a bit of a pain to work with, honestly. There are nice cloth tools in Unreal Engine, but they're kind of a pain to work with to get them working right. And there's wind nodes and there's cloth nodes and stuff like that. I mean, it's cool, and if you want your stuff to look good, you do it. But I'm not a huge fan of how they have it implemented. So that's pretty cool, though. I mean, obviously quite fake, but you can have like if you have an image on a TV, like a broken TV, and it has like the things, it's like do that with it. In general, though, I don't use panner nodes too often. And you can make it slower if we wanted -0.2. Yeah, and TVs a lot of times are cheaper than monitors, right? So you can usually get a giant TV for a couple $100. Pretty cool, gamers. Pretty cool. All right. So let's like 15 minutes left in class. Let's do a little bit of water. Okay. So, just because we're talking about panner nodes. So if you were to go over to materials and click on like the water ocean here, so you'll see that they have text chords feeding into panners. And all this stuff is basically, you see how this thing's animating over time? It's all the normals are also animating over time, right? So they've got these different normals, and it's causing it to look like the surface is actually rippling, right? Not just like there's a picture sliding on it, like with Mick Foley or whatever, but it's actually having the normals move, so it looks like the waves are kind of moving over the surface. So let's talk. Okay, that's actually going to annoy me. Let's turn that off. 0. Okay. Yeah, one more thing here. When you have nothing selected, on the left-hand side here, there's details. And there's some pretty important options that are over here. The most important is the blend mode. Not blend mode. Let's see, material. Where is it? Shading model. Yeah. So the shading model. You accidentally turn your rock into water. Be like, what? This is how you can make mock animations in HTML using images. Yeah. Yeah, like that's old school. Yeah. Or the blink tag. Doesn't look good. So there's different options for materials, and you can see some of these things over here are kind of like grayed out because the default shading model doesn't use them. But like if you want to do subsurface scattering, you can turn that on there. And what that does is it simulates the light moving inside of the object. So things like skin is actually somewhat translucent. It's like if you've ever taken a flashlight and put your hand over a flashlight, you've seen like red light come out. That's because of subsurface scattering. Your skin doesn't just reflect light. Light penetrates into your skin and bounces around and then comes out. And for things like noses, light will actually pass through the flaps of skin of your nose and light the inside of your nostrils. Back in the day, we actually had to take lights and stick them up people's noses so that they would look correct in video games. Otherwise, you'd have these black holes where people's nostrils were because no light would get into them. So subsurface scattering simulates like the webs of skin, things like that, how like light passes through them. Yahoo GeoCities. It's old. Yeah. No offense, but I remember those days too. So subsurface color, if we just make it, let's make this a 3 constant. Subsurface color, let's say the inside of this thing is going to be red, like that. When you save it, so this simulates like inside, like the surface has a picture of oak on it, but inside of the oak, it is red on the inside. And so this, you can see when like light comes through like the edges there, it looks a little different. It doesn't really make a lot of sense for wood, but if you're doing like jade or things like that, subsurface scattering is really important. Skin is really important. Clear coat is like on a car. You can actually have a paint job on your car and then have a clear coat on top of it. And that is very commonly used for car automotive renderings and things like that. So you've got, it's actually reflecting light twice. It reflects off the clear coat, then reflects off the actual paint. And you can see like that sheen there off that. That's all the clear coat being simulated on the surface. So pretty cool stuff. Like I said, very commonly used in like automotive renderings and things like that. Anytime you want to simulate a clear coat where you've got a second layer on top of it. Yeah, I would say that's good enough for now. You don't need to get too much into it. I just kind of wanted to tell you that those things are out there. Okay. So let's do water. So I'm going to switch into landscaping mode. And holding down shift, I'm going to drop the train a little bit. Make a little lake over here. Click it up a little bit. So we're going to put a little lake next to our Centric Inn Resort here. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch back into select mode. And I'm going to add a plane here. Planes default to 1 meter by 1 meter. Not very useful. So I'm going to see here. There's the location of you. Pull it about up to sea level, I guess. I'm gonna drop it probably a meter below sea level, I guess. Okay. And then I'm going to make it bigger. So I'm going to scale it up to like 50 meters by 50 meters. And there we go. Okay. So you notice how when you intersect a plane with landscaping, you can actually create kind of a nice looking natural, like you can drop the train a little bit, and you see how like the thing kind of just matches the contours of the land. It's a lot better than just like a square lake, which looks really artificial. So yeah, did you do anything for the Millennium, like the New Year's Eve '99, Megan? When it comes to usage of textures and line techniques, what game from the last 5-ish years stands out? I mean, Cyberpunk does stand out. Cyberpunk had a really good, not the PS4 version, but Disneyland, nice. Yeah, I was downtown San Diego on New Year's Eve '99. We're all kind of walking around wondering if like Y2K was going to wipe out civilization a little bit. We weren't too worried. Now, you might notice that the water texture that I picked here is scaled all to hell. Why? Because I scaled it up, right? So this would be an example of like when you would want to go in there and edit those texture nodes. I'm actually going to duplicate this here. Actually, I'll duplicate it, yeah. And then I'm going to cut and put it up in Bill. Paste. Nope. Didn't work. Okay, let's try this again. Materials, where'd you go? Water, ocean. Okay, I'm just going to drag it into build then. It's fine. Move here. And you are going to be called Frank Ocean, of course. And I'm going to set you to be Frank Ocean. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to, rather than doing all that algebra stuff, I'm just going to come in here and adjust the texture coordinates so they're 50 times higher. So that's like 2.5, and I'm doing math, and that's 4, and that's 0.9, and that's 0.75. And every time you see a texture coordinate, I'm just grabbing it and multiplying it by, oh shoot, by 50, right? Dang it. 9, 2.5. Okay, so 70 times 5 is, so it's 35, 37.5, and 37.5 like that. And any other texture coordinates, there's one here. So you're going to be multiplied by 50. That's easy to do. And so I basically, I'm not doing this properly. I should have made all those things parameters and blah, 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 but I'm just, we got 5 minutes left. So I just went through and I just multiplied all the texture coordinates by 50 because this plane is 50 by 50. So now it looks better, right? So I play the game. Now it looks like actual water. And you can see that they've got different, like the normal maps are panning. So they have a panner on the normal maps, and that causes the light to shine off them really nicely. And they've got different high frequency, medium frequency, low frequency things with noise sliding around, adding to each other. So you don't really see any patterns in this water anywhere, right? It looks pretty good. You've even got some major ripples out there, like you'd have in real water. There is a whole water plugin and stuff like that we can get into, but this is like good enough for like just, it's probably, the water's actually probably a little bit too rough for a pond, you know what I mean? Like I probably should have done this with the lake water instead of the ocean water. Oh well. So yeah, so it is solid. Okay. So how do we turn it off? How do we make it not solid? So with the details open, This is actually really important. You go down here and under the collision settings for every object in the world, you can change how it interacts with other objects in the world. And for you, collision presets, we're going to go to custom. And I'm going to turn off collision. That's probably the easiest way of doing it. So here, and there we go. So we are now underwater. And it's dark. And it's dark because we're doing ray tracing. If you were not using ray tracing, this would be fully lit. But because we are beneath the surface of the water, we are now in a dark area. There's no light reaching us. Okay, and we can probably walk back out. There we go. And so, yeah. Okay. And so we'll need to talk maybe next time about how to do underwater areas. But I just wanted to show you this because a lot of times people will just take a plane and just slap a water texture on it. But until you understand like how materials work, you can't like fix it, right? Because for whatever reason, they didn't make the tiling on the ocean a material parameter. Because that would be ideal, you know what I mean? Like you just right click on the ocean, create a material instance, and change the tiling to match whatever thing you have. Whatever reason, they just hard code it as size 1. Like you're only going to apply the ocean texture to something that is correctly scaled. I think it's kind of a bad decision, but now that you understand materials, you can do what I do, which again was I just literally looked for every texture coordinate node and just multiplied the values in it by 50 because I'm applying it to a 50 by 50 scaled plane. Okay. So, how does one code a shark? I still haven't done that. It could be fun though. But I think that's good for today. So your assignment for today is to create a master material and basically create 3 instances of the material like I've done here. Show me addition, show me multiplication, show me lerping, show me parameters, and just make something cool. Okay, just show me your creativity. That's something that, you know, you guys have been just absolutely doing great at. The creativity in this class has been, you know, out of the world. Just show me that you learned what we covered today. Like I said, master material, 3 material instances, do something with addition, something with multiplication, something with lerping, parameters, and yeah, something like this, right? Where you got, you know, I've got a clean, I got a dirty, I got a, well, it's not really very dirty, is it? Medium dirty, heavily dirty somehow. I don't know, it doesn't really look that way, but it's in there. Like there's actually noise, there's actually dirt added to this, even though it's kind of subtle, which I kind of like, actually. So all the dirt on this is actually not really, you know, it's actually not really very obvious, which is good. In general, you don't want those things to be just like super obvious, like, you know, like that, like it just doesn't look good. You know what I mean? So even that doesn't look good. So yeah, having something like if it's squeaky clean, it looks like that. I had it at this, and that like you couldn't even tell like there was dirt added to it. You know what I mean? Clean, dirt. You know, it just kind of looks normal. It looks natural. It's when things start looking sort of, you know, they're probably not. And when it's like that, or it's like that, it's just bad. It's just bad, right? So there's definitely an aesthetic. There's definitely like some artistic sensibilities that probably benefit you as a game developer. Oh. Nuclear covered with, yeah, that's cool. Cool. All right, so save, and that's it for today. So thanks everyone for coming out. I hope you enjoyed it. Materials are a lot of fun. Next time we're going to work on landscape materials, which are also pretty neat. Having materials on the landscape that automatically generate flowers and flower zones and steep zones being rocks and the top areas be covered in snow. Like there's a lot of really cool stuff you can do with automatic landscape materials. So stay tuned for that. And remind me to do the AI that can actually walk around and navigate. That's going to be pretty important too. All right, so that's it for today. I'll see you guys next time.